And so I think the reason why went to all these rehearsals is I just felt that would be one of the easiest ways for me to learn, is just to watch other people, watch other conductors, and learn from as many different people as possible. And there are different perspectives, and they always need help sometimes as well, on camps, to do some voice building or take, when we divide into sections. So if you build that relationship by just being visible in the conducting community and being very supportive, also supporting them at their concerts, you quite often get these unexpected opportunities.
Gerrit, it's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure. And where are you based exactly?
I'm currently residing in Rapid City, South Dakota. So it's on the western part of the state of South Dakota.
Okay, and but you're originally from South Africa.
Yeah, I was born in South Africa and grew up there, and did my undergrad work there, and then I moved here for graduate studies to the States.
Okay, so that was the reason why you moved, is to further your studies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the main reason why I decided to move to the States, was to pursue a master's in choral conducting.
Okay, and tell me, in South Africa, where did music start for you?
At a very young age, I grew up religiously, went to church, and so sang in the church choir, children's choir, joined choir in both elementary school and the years in high school. When we did have a high school choir, I also sang choir. And then also the regional youth choir, the Mpumalanga youth choir, or I should say Highveld Mpumalanga Youth Choir. I sang in that choir. So basically it started for me in choirs, in singing. But I also started taking piano lessons at about the age of 11, if I remember correctly. So sort of singing and piano was my first introduction to music.
And in which town did you grow up in South Africa?
I grew up in a small town, probably not that small, Secunda. It's close by Trichard. So it's about, I would say, an hour and 20 minutes or so southeast of Johannesburg. So right in the heart of the Highveld.
Wow. I was there once in my life, and I just remember it was very cold. It was in the winter and it was extremely cold.
Yep, it can get very cold indeed in the winter.
But now, Secunda, where you grew up, you said you sang in the choir, but were there many other opportunities for you, or was it mainly the choir singing that you did?
Not really in a small town like Secunda in the 90s. So I would say most of my opportunities were actually just singing in choir, and the youth choir that I mentioned. We would travel and we would rehearse in different towns in the Highveld, and every year we will have different choir camps. So some of the towns that I can remember: Piet Retief, Bethel, Standerton, all those towns on the Highveld.
Yeah.
We would have a camp every year in a different town. We would have a big gala concert in a different town every year. So I would say that was the majority of my opportunities to participate in music. I must say we did have a really vibrant Eisteddfod scene. That's the other big opportunity we had. I think every other year, if I remember correctly. So we would prepare items, and that was not only music for me, a big part for music for me, but not only music. So like reciting poems and dramatic readings and unprepared readings and things like that was also an option at that Eisteddfod.
But South Africa is known for its choirs because there's a lot of wonderful choirs, but with choir singing, it's also about the community.
Oh, absolutely. I think in general, choir is all about the community singing, but I think in South Africa, it's so much more. Um, just now being out of the country for 10 years almost, and um, speaking from my experience living in the US, where it's so part of the curriculum. It's a class that students can take in high school and at college, where they actually get graded for. Um, it's almost a different vibe compared to South Africa, where it is absolutely extracurricular. It's not a class. In fact, I would say for most school choirs and college choirs in South Africa, it's an activity that you do after all your studies in the evenings. So that just solidifies the fact that people that are then in those choirs want to be there. It's not like a class that they have to take, or it's a class that they've enrolled for. No, it's an activity that they want to be at. So it's all about that community, finding a space where you may find like-minded people or people that have, similar interests or goals. So that really quickly creates that community.
But when did you decide to pursue a career in music? Did you know from a young age that was what you wanted to do?
Not really. I was one of those, jack of all trades, master of none students. I always want to say in high school, where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So I took I think 11 subjects in,
Wow.
and obviously 2 of those I wrote off in grade 11. Took all the math, and I took geography, and I took art all the way to matric, and drama for a little bit, and then just the big 6: accounting, biology, mathematics. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after school. I wanted to go into the arts, possibly pursue a degree in drama. And then my parents were not quite convinced that that's the route for me. Immediately right out of high school, they suggested, go and get a degree in, something that has more job security. And then by all means, go and get any other degree that you want. And so I ended up starting off as a pre-med major, what they would call here. So it was, I think, Bachelor of Science in Medical Science. So I started off studying that actually at the University of Pretoria for a year and a half. And then I switched to human genetics because I was really interested in that and did really well in the genetics part courses for that degree. But from the get-go, I joined the university choir back then under the direction of Professor Johann van der Sandt. And I just enjoyed it.
I did an interview with him. Yeah. What a wonderful man.
Lovely human being, and just such a good choral director. And so I sang with him from the very beginning, and obviously then had a lot of interaction with music majors, people that are studying music full time. And it sort of given me the idea of maybe perhaps how it might feel like or be like, pursuing this full time. And then I did the brave thing or the stupid thing of switching majors. So I switched from medical science, or back then human genetics, to music without telling my parents.
Wow.
Still not knowing really what I would want to do with the music degree exactly. Just that I enjoy making music on a daily basis, and it brings me joy. And I want to do this, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do that with the degree when I'm done. And I remember, to answer your question, sort of what made me decide to get into music and then choral conducting was at the end of my first year as a music student. Professor Johann van der Sandt resigned, and he went to the Drakensberg Boys Choir. And however, we already committed for a a Christmas picnic. It was at one of the high schools in Pretoria, where the University of Pretoria University Choir was going to provide the music at this Christmas picnic. And all the conducting students um, graduated that year. It just happened to be that I think there were three of them graduated, and Professor Johann van der Sandt left. But we committed to this concert. And the manager of the choir said, "Well, you're the only music student. Are you in town in choir? Yeah, you'll just conduct the choir."
Oh, wow.
And I ended up conducting. And now, granted, this was already my third year in the choir, so I wasn't like brand new, but this was my first year as a music student, and I reluctantly said, "Yes, okay, I'll conduct the concert." And it was very informal. It was sort of like a picnic. People were, on the grass eating their dinners, and just listening to the background music. But I conducted the couple of songs with the choir, and it went really well. And some of my friends in the choir said, "Hey, you should consider, perhaps going the conducting route." And I think that's where it started. Where a seed was planted. Like, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe this is, it's coming naturally to me to conduct, and maybe that's something I should pursue. So, yeah.
But that's amazing that you got that opportunity and that suddenly, kicked in. This is what I want to do.
Absolutely. It's almost like the universe just said, "Okay, this is the moment. This is what you're going to do." And I think from that moment on, so that was the end of my first year, and it's a 4-year degree. I think my end goal always was, okay, I'm going to sort of specialize in conducting. And I took all the conducting. Back then, you could only take choral conducting your third and your fourth year. Nowadays, things has changed so much for the better. Nowadays, you can take it as an instrument from your first year, which is wonderful, I think. But I remember I couldn't wait to get to third year of my degree so that I can take choral conducting. And I think what I started doing since that concert was just try and sing in as many choirs as I can, attend as many rehearsals, if there were opportunities to lead sectionals or, do master classes or things like that. I just jumped to it, to the opportunity in doing it. And sometimes it was very scary because sometimes, I was by far the least experienced person in the room. But I think if it wasn't for moments like that, I don't think I would have grown as quickly or, made it as far as I did, just taking the leap and knowing that you will always learn from someone else. So.
But your dedication, to do it, to go to all these rehearsals and try, go to different choirs, that takes also, it's a lot of time and it's dedication.
Absolutely. But I think one of the reasons why I did that, and again, I think things nowadays are much, much better in terms of opportunities for young conductors. Professor Johann van der Sandt was sort of the big, so he started the multi-model choir on campus and sort of started the conducting degree at the University of Pretoria in the early 2000s. And then, so there were not a lot of opportunities. And the tricky thing with getting a practical degree in choral conducting is you have to have a choir. And if you don't have a choir, how are you going to get that practical experience? It's not like a pianist or a violinist that just need their instrument and go into a practice room and practice hours. So it's a little bit more challenging. And I think nowadays they have a really good system at the University of Pretoria where they provide choirs like the youth choir and like assistantship positions for people to practice their craft. 10 years ago, it was not there. You had to come up with your own choir. So many people, would just ask a couple of their friends, music friends, to come together and make a choir. And so I think the reason why I, went to all these rehearsals is I just felt that would be one of the easiest ways for me to learn is just to watch other people, watch other conductors and learn from as many different people as possible. And, there are different perspectives. And And, they always need help sometimes as well, on camps, to do some voice building or take, when we divide into sections. So if you build that relationship by, just being visible in the conducting community and being very supportive, also supporting them at their concerts, you quite often get, these unexpected opportunities where you get asked, to, hey, would you want to come and assist in conducting this concert, or we would love your help on a camp, or things like that. So I think that was a smart move on my part, in
Yeah.
hindsight.
Mm. But I have to ask now, what did your parents say about this then? Because they must have found out by now.
Yeah. So back to the story. I switched very late. I think it was like April. So it was after that March Easter holiday. And the then head of the department, it was Professor Hinch, he was the flute professor, said, it's not too late. We'll accept you, because I obviously had to write an entrance exam for music theory, and I had to sing. That was my main instrument. He said, but you have to start attending music theory classes right away. Like, you leave my office now, there's a class starting at, I'm making up a time, like at 10 a.m. You go straight to that class so that you not get behind even further. And so I just immediately started attending these music classes. And then I think a couple days after that, I, got the courage to, okay, I need to phone my parents now and break the news. And broke the news over the phone to both of them. And they were a little upset, but I think very quickly they turned around when they saw that I was happy and I was getting good grades and that I was really enjoying it and that I was good at it. And they were my biggest supporters since then. Like, every concert that they possibly could make. So when I moved to the US, they, for different reasons, my dad was a chemical engineer. He also moved to the US a couple of years after I moved to the US. They would fly to my graduation, to my concerts. They lived in Texas at the time. I was in Missouri. And yeah, so my biggest supporters. And unfortunately, they passed away a couple of years, both my parents. So they're
I'm
not,
so sorry.
not with us any longer. But yeah, biggest supporters until the end. So
wow, what a great story. Well, I can just think of many other things that could have made them upset than just their son going and doing such a beautiful career. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said now something interesting, and I've just recently also thought about that when I was in South Africa, and that is that your parents suggested that you study something where you have a more chance of a good income, whereas some people still perceive art as, it's not a real job.
Yeah, that is a tough, topic to debate. I, I think if you have the opportunity, I obviously disagree with that. I think, making art is a real job. It provides income. And if you are dedicated to your art and, you are a hard worker and you show up and you strive to learn and to be the best in your art, whether it's dance or music or, painting, any fine art, it is a job. You wake up and you have a schedule, and it may not be as rigid as, being an engineer or being an accountant, where you have a 9 to 5 and you have office hours that you have to go to. But I think the artists that make a big success out of their career, they do have a routine. It may be unusual if you compare it to, your day-to-day jobs, but they work hard and long hours, and sometimes even longer hours than a regular, day job, whatever that may be, in order to get that success. I'm not sure if you've seen that picture where it's this giant mountain in the sea, and then it's just a little tip that,
Oh
peeks
yeah.
out of the water.
Yeah.
And then the description is, what people see, the art, the work of the artist that people see, and it's just that little tip on the top. And then everything that is, below the surface, all the hours and hours of work and failure. That's what a lot of people don't realize, a lot of failures and mistakes that you make. That's how you get better. And so just, I think the same amount of effort goes into becoming a great conductor, a great singer, a great painter than, being the best accountant or being the best chemist or,
Yeah. But
whatever.
is there the same attitude towards say, for example, choir singing? Is there the same attitude as in South Africa, or art? Do the children also have that idea? Well, I'm not going to study art because it's not a secure income.
I think to some extent, yes. There is a little bit of that where people will rather pursue it as a hobby and rather get a degree in law or something where they know that they will have a steady income and then pursue their art as a hobby or something on the side. But I must also say there are more job opportunities here than in South Africa, specifically in my field in terms of choral conducting positions. Because almost every high school, middle school, elementary school has a position for a conductor. And like I say, it's part of the curriculum. It's slightly different here. So it's a class that they take. The students meet, and it's different from school to school, but they meet the conductor for choir three to five times a week. Some schools are lucky and they see their students every day for like 50 minutes during the day. So they would have art in the morning, and they would have chemistry, and then they would have break, and then they would have choir, and then they would go to the math class. So it's part of the curriculum. So that's quite common here in the US. And so just because of that, there are way more job opportunities in terms of being a full-time choral conductor with benefits and all of those things. So I think students are, more prone to get a degree in music education specifically here, than in South Africa. But you sometimes still do get that. It's not you're not guaranteed a steady income, and yeah, maybe it's better to pursue something that has just more stability in terms of financial income.
Well, a few conductors that I've spoken, orchestra conductors that I've spoken to in the US, they also told me that many of the orchestras are sort of it's people who do it on the side. It's not paid orchestras. Sometimes it's people who are in other fields of work, and then they do this on the side as musicians because they love what they're doing. So do you find choirs also like that? That it's
yeah, absolutely. There are so many community choirs in every. I lived in 4 towns now, and from varying sizes. The biggest city that I lived in the US was Seattle. In Washington, the state of Washington, and then Indiana, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, and now Rapid City, South Dakota. And in all of these towns and cities, there are multiple choral ensembles. Like, I know of at least 2 in this city that are just community groups. In Seattle, there are probably 24, if not more, and what we would call community choirs. Sometimes they're also referred to as town and gown choirs, and they try to incorporate that sometimes with the university. So most universities have some sort of ensemble that combines students and community and staff. And so we have one of those here on my campus as well, which is wonderful. It's in some ways one of my favorite groups to direct because it's just so amazing to see that the interaction between the students and then the faculty and staff. And then the third element, which is the community members. So we all come together and we rehearse for 2 hours on a Thursday, and then we perform with the other university choirs. So that's quite common to have that, varying in sizes, but to have that in almost every little town has a community choir because people love singing. Singing is good for you. So, and a lot of people love to continue their singing after their college careers. And so they start these community groups, or they join these community groups to sort of just continue that love of singing that they were able to do from, let's say, elementary school all the way through college. And now they've graduated and they're real adults, and now they're start to work, but they really want to continue singing. And then they start joining these community groups.
But how amazing the choir that you were talking about now, also that where the students and the teachers then get together.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see that interaction because, during the day they sit in these teachers' classes, and you're my math professor or you're my chemistry professor, and there's a level of respect and teacher-student relationship. But the moment they step into my choir room, they're equal in a way because they're both singers now, and they both contribute to this, the same goal that we have for the choir. And it's just lovely to see them interact. Many rehearsals, since we're a STEM school, after the rehearsals or in the breaks or before choir rehearsals, the students will talk with their professors, about problems, that they've encountered in class, or, you would see all these math equations on the board,
really?
Which is just, foreign to me. But it's just lovely to see that relationship grow outside of their regular, academic class. And the students then from their side, I think really enjoy seeing their professors, being able to just also have fun and create with them outside of their expertise, outside of their academic field.
Wow, I've never heard of this, but I'm just thinking while you were talking now, it's that what a great way to build relationships, for the students and the teachers, and to get to know each other on a totally different level. In such a way, but then still have that respect when they get back into the class, and but seeing a different side of their teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a very unique opportunity that we offer for our students.
Yeah. So in school, you say in the classes the choir that you direct there, it's what age groups do you work with?
So I teach at a four-year university. We grant PhDs and masters as well. It's a STEM school, so it's a bunch of engineers. So any engineering degree you can think of, we have it here. We have environmental engineering, biomedical engineering, mechanical, metallurgical, electrical, chemical, any engineering degree almost that you can think of, we have here. And so we offer these humanities courses in the late afternoons and the evenings because they obviously have to focus on their academics during the day and their lab courses and lab work during the day. So we have 4 choirs here on campus. We have the singing engineers that's been here, gosh, I don't want to get the date wrong, but I think since the 1950s. They're called the singing engineers. It's a small group. It's auditioned. It's just 16. It's the top 16 singers. And their ages range from, freshmen, which is a first year in college here. So from, let's say, the youngest I have had was 17 years old.
Oh, okay.
Was my first year. But generally, let's say 18 years. And then they go all the way up. We do have graduate students, like I say, mid-20s, people busy with their PhDs. Then we have a concert choir, which is also an audition group. And that group varies from 36 to 40 people per semester. Also a mixed group in terms of the voicing, so SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. and they also exact same from 18 to, let's say, 25 or so, 28, give or take, years old. Then we have the university group, and we allow, like I said, community members, students, faculty, staff. There are even a few high school students that take dual enrollment, or they want to start to take credit towards their college careers, or so they join this group as well. So next year I will have a high school student in the group starting this fall. So the ages there range from, let's say, 16, 17, all the way up to, I don't know, probably mid 70s. I don't know how old the oldest person in my current group is, but so a very wide range of ages, and also ability in terms of, or I shouldn't say ability, but I should say experience. It's a non-audition group, so we don't show anyone away. That's also quite a common thing here in the US, which I really enjoy, is most universities have one or two ensembles that are non-audition. It doesn't require an audition. You just show up and sing, or show up and play your instrument. And I think it's great to see how that also can contribute to building community, but also building musicians, because many times you may have the talent or the skill, but you don't necessarily have had the let's say the opportunities to cultivate that skill. So you don't know that you're a great singer, or that you are a decent I don't know, drummer or guitarist or pianist. So I've seen myself many people that walk in and they were a pretty average singer. They joined this group because they're afraid of auditioning. So they joined the group that does not require an audition, and they love it so much, and they get so good that they work and equip themselves to, after 2 or 3 or 4 semesters, to be able to join the top group, to audition and get in. And it's wonderful. So that's the third group.
That's very interesting. So it means the voice, if you feel a bit insecure about your singing, it might be that it is subconscious, so that when you start singing with other people, then it develops the singing.
Yeah, I mean, performance anxiety is a known thing, a known phenomena, and I think a lot of students in my non-audition group would openly say that, I'm joining this group because I'm just so afraid of auditioning. And then, I always try to, calm them and say, hey, I just want to listen, the range. This is not an audition. We're just going to sing a few scales. I just want to test your range so that I know where I should place you. Are you a soprano, or are you an alto, or, whatever the case may be. And then they have a really good voice and a really decent ear. But it's just that fear of auditioning. And this could be a myriad of things. It could be a past experience, that they had a really bad experience with a past audition, maybe even as early as middle school or high school, or somebody in their past told them, yeah, you're not good, or you should rather not sing, or, it could be something as simple as that can have this big mental block over their own singing and their own instrument. So I try to break that as well, and I think I've found some success in the last couple of years with that, of helping people through that, and basically give their voice back to them, in the sense that you are allowed to sing. You do have a beautiful voice, and singing is good for you, and singing is healthy. But yeah, and then so the fourth and the final group is the newest group to our campus, and it's a small jazz ensemble, a vocal jazz ensemble, and that is mostly student run, student led. It has a student conductor, and from time to time I will jump in and take a rehearsal, or give some advice, or help them and guide them. I serve as their faculty advisor. But in terms of for the most part, repertoire selection and things like that, I leave it up to the students, and I will guide them if I think, it's not quite the right piece for the group. But I really want to try and give them as much freedom as possible to choose their own literature, and to decide how they are going to run the rehearsal, and, what order they want to perform their songs in at the concert, and things like that. I really want to try and give them as much freedom and autonomy as possible. But from time to time, I have to jump in and say, no, I would recommend this. I
Oh,
think
okay.
you would be more successful if you tried this. And so there's a really nice relationship there as well, because at my previous university, I taught choral conducting, and that's what I really like to do and enjoy, is to train other conductors, and I don't have that opportunity at my current job. And so, it's nice for me to have this interaction with the student group to sort of, work a little bit on that still and feel that I, can contribute to the greater cause of things. So
Yeah. And but I mean, it's amazing that, it's really the age group that you're talking about. They have to sing in the choir, and it's amazing that these schools have that as compulsory, that they have to do it. Is there a
so
reason behind it?
I shouldn't say it's not compulsory or required. You have to have a certain amount of fine arts credits. So it's up to you if you want
I
to
see. Okay.
fulfill those fine art credits in band or in choir or in fine arts painting or sculpturing or something like that. But many students, so you have to have those, I don't know what X amount, and it's different from state to state. Different states may require more fine arts credits in order to graduate with a high school diploma. So in some way, yes, you are required to have, because you have to have those fine arts credits in order to graduate with a high school diploma. But it's up to you, do you want to do band and choir? Do you want to do just choir? Do you just want to do band?
Okay.
How you want to do that. But I think it's wonderful that these students, that it's taught as a class, and it's just amazing to see the level of the sight reading here in the US. It's amazing because it's taught in the high schools for the most part, and give or take, certain areas or districts or counties may not necessarily have all the the resources that other counties may have, or the access to support systems to help them. But it's amazing to see, by the time when they get to university, the level of sight reading of many of these students, just because it's a almost daily thing that happens in the high school, that they are taught to sight read. They are constantly confronted with new music and opportunities to sort of really hone in on making their skill as a singer better. So,
and I think also, so many things come with doing an art form. If it's painting or if it's singing, but something in the brain happens, and I mean the research is there that there is definitely changes that happens in the brain when you do an art form. So isn't it amazing that these students have that possibility to do that?
Absolutely, and I think there are so many other skills that are taught through choir that they don't even realize. And skills like, and this is going to sound, oh yeah, but that's so obvious, but we don't think about that. Skills like self-responsibility, punctuality, teamwork, like singing in a choir requires teamwork. Those soft skills that you are going to use, even if you end up continuing and not becoming a professional musician and become an engineer and become a lawyer, that you're going to use in your meetings and your day-to-day life as a business professional. Some of those skills are taught just through choir singing, through music classes, being on time, respect, community. Gosh, the list is almost never ending, and all these skills are taught, and in music, singing is just a vehicle for teaching that. And I think the students don't always realize that, and I think sometimes even the teachers, we don't realize that we have this opportunity to teach our students all these things while making music, which
Yeah.
is a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it's all these skills that we are learning them, and things like, prioritizing and um, very important life skills that we teach through music, through singing, through playing an instrument.
Well, a few weeks ago, I went to South Africa and I visited a drama class at one of the high schools. And I did a few very informal interviews with some of the pupils, and it was not even rehearsed before the time. I just asked them a few questions, and I asked them why they did drama, and then I also asked them, how do you think drama would benefit you in your career? I asked them, what are you going to study, and then they would name all these things that they were going to study. And then I would say, but do you think drama would benefit you? And, they all could give me an answer there. And I thought to myself afterwards, I thought, wow, these children are about 16 years old or 17, and they already have the answer. They can already see how drama benefits them. And, and nobody said that to them. I think they just figured it out themselves. And
yeah. I think, if you that's so interesting that that happened, because I think it is so important for us to also make sure when we teach our students whatever skill or content, that we try and make it as relevant as possible, as always as relevant as possible. That's the words that I'm looking for, because it's so important for them to realize that it's not just a here and now thing.
yeah.
They may not always see the value right now, but if we can draw their attention to, like, we are doing this hard thing, difficult thing, or crazy thing in class now, but it may benefit you in these 6 ways in the future. And sometimes it will be very direct, and sometimes, they figure it out themselves, but it's really important to make sure that the classes you are teaching, the content, perhaps the approach that you are taking, is always keeping in mind relevancy. How can we make it relevant to the students, and to adapt those things, as we progress through time. The way I will teach a student now might be different 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and is probably different from when I just started as a young conductor, 15 years ago. It's really important to make sure that you are relevant. And forward thinking, forward looking, forward pushing, always thinking, how we can make things better and push our art forward. So,
yeah. And I think something that I thought about a lot was that even though children or students don't become professional musicians or professional artists, they would still have the appreciation for their art because they've done it. They understand it, or they know it because they've done it. So they are the audiences of the future.
You are hitting the nail on the head. We are not only training musicians at any age, especially at the younger ages, at elementary school, primary school in South Africa, all the way through college. We should not stare into this wall of, I am training future musicians, future violinists. You're not only doing that. More importantly, like you've just mentioned, is you are training people to appreciate the arts, to see the value of the arts in society, because those are the people that are in the future going to become your audiences. Those are the people that are going to support the arts, whether it's through donations to opera companies, or
exactly, yeah,
starting scholarships for students at certain institutions, whatever the case may be. those are the people that you are training. They may not become the best concert pianist when they leave your school or your degree or your college, but they will have an appreciation for the art form. They will support the arts. They will be the people in the future that will stand up for the arts when we are in troubled times or at a crossroads.
Exactly.
And financially, there are the people that will more likely or be willing to give and support the arts financially because they know the value the art form had not only in their own life, but in their community, their immediate community, but also the larger community that they grew up in and that they functioned in. They just know the value of that. And therefore, it would be easier for them to give back or support or, fight for the arts. So
exactly. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. But Gerrit, you're doing amazing work there. And but what are still the wishes for you for the future?
Just to make more music and meet more people through my music making, try and touch more people through my music making. I love working with people, and I my hope is to use music, and in my world, choral music more specifically, to create a better world. And whether that is, making light of certain situations in the world, or, through our singing, through the programming, through the literature that we choose to sing, or just to create spaces for people to feel welcomed, and feel loved and safe and to grow as people. So yeah, just more music making and putting more good out into the world.
Amazing, amazing. And what a wonderful, beautiful wish, really. And I do agree with you. People come together in choir singing, and I think it's that moment where you leave everything behind, and it's in that moment where you sing, that there's that support and that community feel, and it's amazing.
It's the one place, and some people might argue with me, but I think it's the one place in the world where a group of people can come together, regardless of their religious views, political views, whatever. They can come together in a room, and for an hour, 2 hours, they have one goal, and it's to make beautiful music best way they possibly can. I don't think there's any sport, and I love sports, or any other activity in this world that does that, where such a diverse group of people in terms of religion, culture, social economic status, political status, political views, whatever you can think of, together in a room making music because there's one goal that they have in mind. And I think that's just wonderful. It's wonderful that we have that option and that opportunity and that space. And we should not take it for granted, and we should handle, and that is a fragile thing, and we should not take it for granted and really appreciate that we can make art.
Well, I've always said what I love about conductors is that they can bring all the different instruments together and make one sound. And now I want to say to you the same thing. While a choir conductor, you do that, not just all the different voices, but the different personalities and the different backgrounds and everything, and you bring it all together and you make one sound. That's wonderful. What a privilege.
Yeah. And like you say,
Yeah.
it's absolutely an honor and a privilege to be able to do that.
Oh, that's great. But thank you so much, Gerrit.
Yeah, thank you. It was lovely
wonderful
talking
to
to you.
talk to you. Do you ever come to Vienna?
I will actually be in Vienna in next summer in July. We are touring with our concert choir, and we are giving one concert in Vienna, 2 concerts in Vienna, I think, and then a big concert in the Salzburger Dome in Salzburg. So,
well, you'll have to let me know. I would love to come and see a concert.
Yeah, it's in the beginning of July, and I will definitely be in touch. So.
Oh wow, that's amazing! Yeah, no, definitely do that. And it would be great to meet you in person.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, 2 South Africans in Vienna.
Yeah. It's fun.
Okay, Gerrit, have a lovely rest of the day.
You too.
Won't you meet me where the old fences and the horizon begins? There's a balm in the silence, like an understanding air, where the old fences and the horizon begins. We've been walking down the mountain through this dark, long road, carried ancestral sorrow for too long a time. Will you lay down your burden, lay down, come with me? It will never be forgotten, held in love so tenderly. Meet me, won't you meet me, where the old fences and the horizon begin. There's a joy in singing, like an understanding, where the old fences and the horizon begins. Then we'll come to the mountain, we'll go bounding to see that great circle of dancing, and we'll dance endlessly. And we'll dance with all the children who've been lost along the way. We will love the nation coming home this glorious day. We are home in mid-mountain, and we'll gently understand that we've been friends forever, that we've never been alone. We'll sing on through any darkness, and our song will be our sight. We can learn to offer praise again, coming home to the light.